Greetings and thank you for joining us at futuremoneytrends.com. The Brexit vote has happened. Gold has surged past $1,300. Our guest today is legendary gold speculator Doug Casey of Casey Research. Doug, thanks for joining us on the show today.
Well, thanks, Daniel. It's always nice to be back with you here.
Let's talk about our last call, actually. If you listen to the last interview, which we did in late April, my goodness, you've more than doubled your money. Gold is one of the best performing assets in 2016. You nailed it. And you've essentially called the bottom. You said where you were putting your money where your mouth is, that you learned over the 40 years in the markets. How high do you think gold is going to go in this run here? Do you think we're going to blow right past 2,000 and head to the $3,000 to $5,000 level?
I think that's going to happen eventually because we're looking at a worldwide monetary crisis of historic proportions. You've got to remember that since the crisis started in 2007, not just the U.S. government, which has printed up trillions of new U.S. dollars, but the Europeans, the Japanese, the Chinese, they've all created trillions and trillions of new currency units. And that papered over what happened in 2010 and 11 and 12. Look at it as a hurricane, if you would. We went into the leading edge of the hurricane in 7 and 8 and 9. They papered it over with all this funny money, and now we're going out the trailing edge. And it's going to last much longer, be much worse, and be much different. And I believe we're going back into the hurricane, the trailing edge, this year. And there's going to be a panic into gold because those trillions of currency units that all these governments have created are going to start coming out into the general economy and out of the financial system, which is where they've been residing, creating bubbles in stocks and bonds. No, it's going to be something. It's going to be a very big deal.
Yeah, all the more reason to internationalize your assets as you've advocated.
And do buy gold. Gold stocks are a wonderful speculation at this point, but the most important thing is to have physical gold in your own possession because it's the only financial asset that's not simultaneously somebody else's liability. And that's very important at a time like this.
Now, when investors invest in these tiny little companies, I mean, how do you I know you've had 10 baggers experience 100 baggers. Most people, when they're up, even a little bit, they want to sell, especially coming out of this bear market. With your fund, I mean, you guys how do you have the, the willpower to even stay long in a bull market?
There's an old stock market saying, be right and sit tight. And you don't make any money trading. If you try trading stocks, you're going to get eaten up by the bid-ask spread. You're going to get eaten up by commissions. And worse than that, you're going to get eaten up by your own psychology because your own psychology is your worst. You tend to want to buy at tops. You tend to want to sell at bottoms. You're perfectly human. So if I've picked a good company and I think I'm in a major bull market, I stay long till when I go to a cocktail party, everybody's talking about it, and then I know it's time to hit the bid.
It's a great point right there. Yeah, I mean, still, it's so, even as gold is, people are making a lot of money right now in the precious metal stocks, the junior stocks. Gold is still really disliked amongst most, of the average CNBCers. The true success is not to sell early in a bull market. And I remember last time you told us you follow you bet on the jockey. So I've got to ask you, you made a big call with Brazil Resources, BRI, on our last call. So
yes.
Are you selling it today, or are you selling into the strength?
No, because if you've got a winning horse, you don't get off after you pass the first turn. And right now, I think that we're at the start of a really major gold bull market. This gold bull market is going to be driven by a lot of things. It's going to take gold a lot higher than most people can imagine at this point. And quality exploration stocks, and I put BRI, they're very small market caps. And when the market in general gets excited about gold, people are going to try to put millions and millions of dollars into this area, and it's going to be like trying to force the contents of Hoover Dam through a fire hose. It's going to be explosive. So no, I'm not selling it yet. And I've got to say that that stock in particular, it's got excellent fundamentals. It's still cheap, basically. All these stocks are still cheap because it was a very, very deep and nasty bear market we've experienced for the last 4 years. It's over. It's turning around.
How strong will the bull market effects be on the higher quality companies and then the lower quality companies? I mean, in your experience, so for a company like BRI, who is high quality with 10 million ounces of gold, I mean, could this thing go over $10 a share?
Yes, it's entirely possible. You've got to look at the market capitalization of these things more than the price per share. And right now, Brazil Resources is about 200 million Canadian dollars per share. But for the amount of gold that it has, that's actually quite cheap. And right now, very, very few people are involved in gold stocks. They don't even know gold exists. By the time this market ends, there's going to be a mania in gold where everybody is going to be talking about it at cocktail parties and touting mining stocks to each other. We're a long way from that. I think these stocks have a long way to run. And I mentioned that in the context. I've been involved in the mining finances too long, 40 years at this point. But it's a terrible business as a business. You can't invest in it, per se. That's why Warren Buffett doesn't get involved in these things. You invest in them, but you can speculate in them because it's the most volatile part of the stock market, bar none. And your timing has to be reasonable getting into them. And now is an excellent time. One of the best times in the last 40 years that I've watched the market.
Doug, you have a new book coming out. Can you tell me first, by the way, is this your first fictional book?
It is. It's a book called Speculator, first of a series, a sextet of books that reform the unjustly besmirched occupations, 6 unjustly besmirched occupations. And the first is Speculator, which talks about a gold mining fraud and a revolution in Africa. I've spent a lot of time in Africa, and of course I've been involved in the gold mining business for many years, so there's a lot of interesting stuff in that book. So it'll be out in a couple of weeks, Daniel.
Awesome. Well, hey, I look forward to reading it, and hopefully we can have you back on after I've had a chance to review it. Prior to this call, I was just sharing with you that you have relieved me and awakened me of voting, and I'm so happy not to have wasted my time in voting at all. Feels great. But do you think the next president is essentially doomed to failure? I mean, no matter what, is it whether it's Trump or a total sociopath and part of the oligarchs like Hillary Clinton? I mean, is the whole damn thing going to blow up on the next person's term?
I pity the poor fool, whoever is elected. There's not much they can do about it at this point. It's very much as if you jumped off a tall office building. You're going to hit the ground, and it doesn't matter who's president if you're falling from that office building. And that's where we are right now. Sure, there are intelligent things, and there are more stupid things that the president can do. But at this point, the situation's almost got a life of its own. So, no, it's a real problem, and the worst part of it is that we're going to have this election. My guess is in the middle of a financial crisis in 6 months, and who knows what the average person is going to vote for at that point.
Well, I almost wonder if the oligarchs would want Trump to win. That way, they can kind of teach the people a lesson. How dare you get out of line, right?
Yes, good point. Although Hillary will be a total disaster as president from many points of view, you've got to hope that she's elected because at least as the depression deepens, it'll be blamed on her and her policies. Although I've got to say that Trump has extremely foggy and unclear economic thinking himself. It's a very bad choice. We're in between Scylla and Charybdis, a rock and a hard place. We're in between Stalin and Hitler. These are terrible choices to have to make.
Doug Casey of Casey Research, again, a legend, and here we are right at the bottom of the bull market, or the bull market just starting and ramping up here, and already one of his picks literally doubling our money in about a month's time. Doug, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, Daniel. Talk to you later.
The stock market crash brings ripe opportunities to profit for 2016. Learn more by visiting futuremoneytrends.com/smartmoney.